You go away and you're away for a week or 2 weeks. It's a massive privilege, but equally it can be quite stressful. So in this video, I'm going to talk you through what I did recently on a 3-week break to Singapore and Australia, how I managed my training, why I did it differently to how I would normally do it, and the 10 top things that I'm going to give to you to help you manage your next holiday or break so that you can enjoy the training, or not so the case may be, to the best of your abilities. And this is going to sound super straightforward, but know what you're dealing with. When you book the hotel, when you are going to a certain place, if it's an Airbnb, have a look around. Do you have a gym in the near vicinity that makes sense for you to go and train? When we were in Australia, there was a gym nearby and it took me 10 minutes to walk there. It had membership options for 7-day, 10-day, 14-day. When we were in Singapore, we had a hotel that had a phenomenal gym. But the most important thing here is we knew what we were getting ourselves into. So we knew what the hotel gym was going to be like. So I was able to plan a little bit. So point number 1, know what you're working with, make a plan. Second point is to communicate with your partner, friends, or family. If you want to train, do not keep this to yourself. It is the single worst thing you can do. It will build anxiety, resentment, and stress within you. You won't be enjoying yourself because in the back of your mind, you're constantly thinking about when you're going to be able to fit that session in. You're not going to be present. People will know that. People pick up on these things. So it's really important that you communicate with that person so that they know what you're going to be doing, why you're going to be doing it, and you can come to some arrangement about when. Because 9 times out of 10, people don't care that you're going to train. They care that you go and train in the middle of the day, which means they want to go for a drink, they want to go to the pool, they want to go and visit something, and you're like, oh, I need to go to the gym. They're like, what the fuck? We're on holiday. Why would you do that? So if you're going to the gym at 6 a.m. when they're just waking up, getting ready, stirring, and then you meet for breakfast at 7:30, nobody's hindered in any way, shape, or form. Communication's great, and you're going to be able to get your training in happy as ever, but so are they, because you communicated and it's not hindered their holiday either. You're both getting the best of both worlds. Point number 3, have a plan based around your travel. This is something I have so many conversations with clients about. If you've just got off a 15-hour flight, thinking that you're going to go and have the best session of your life is completely unreasonable and ludicrous. If you are going to have a 15-hour flight, an 8-hour flight, whatever it is, take into consideration the time zone you've come from and the time zone you're going into. Now, if you're traveling through Europe, you're traveling through the US, the time zones are what, 3-4 hours apart? It's not going to be the end of the world. But if you're traveling cross-continent, you could have a big issue because, hey, it might be 8 a.m. where you are, but it might also be 3 a.m. where you've just come from, and your circadian rhythm will not have caught up with that yet. Your circadian rhythm is simply the body's clock. It controls our hormones, it controls appetite, hunger, it controls sleep, it controls heat, it controls pretty much everything we do. So if your body thinks you should be asleep and you're trying to go and train, it's not going to really give you everything you need. So it's really important that you take into consideration not just the flight time and how long you'll have been roughly sat still for, but also where you are, the time zone there, and the time zone that you've come from. Done well, this can actually help you overcome jet lag because sleep is aided by exercise. Exercise at the right time can boost enough of our adenosine. Adenosine is what builds that sleep pressure in the brain. So you get sleep pressure from added work, which of course you will have had from doing the training, and it can help you get to sleep, especially if the timings are out and you could really do with it based on that jet lag. Which takes me on to point number 4. Make sure you warm up the best you ever have. If you've just come off the back of a long flight, you have been sat still for hours, you've not moved properly. Don't forget to get to that flight. You've probably not done a huge amount of movement either. The single worst thing you can do is negate a decent warm-up. You need to get your body moving. You need to get those signals going to the brain, get that proprioception firing, get the joints moving in the way that they should, and get some damn blood flow to those things. If you don't, you are increasing your chances of injury. I don't have a stat for this, but I would say tenfold, if not more. based on the fact that chances of injury go up by 80% with even a small drop in sleep, let alone the fact that not only have you not slept properly, you've also not moved at all. So we need to consider these things. So a really, really thorough warm-up is exactly what you need. I'm talking 5 to 10 minutes on the treadmill, get moving, get the legs swinging, get going. Ability work, leg swings, world's greatest stretches, things like that. Even some foam rolling. You need to feel like you are ready to perform by the time you finish that warm-up. And if you haven't, and if you don't, I suggest going for a little bit longer and just eking out those things, because the last thing you need is to go through a 2-second warm-up after a 10-hour flight and go get yourself injured. No one's going to enjoy a holiday with a torn hammy. Number 5, fuel yourself for the workout that you are doing. It is so easy when you're away on holiday to think to yourself, oh, I've eaten fuckloads of food, so the last thing I need to go and do is eat more food before I train. The limiting factor of that is that you haven't necessarily got that food in around the training session, and it's not even to say that that food is going to be a great deal of benefit to you in that moment. If, for example, you've been eating just loads of fats, right? Loads of fats because you love cheese, and you then go to train, that's not necessarily going to be very helpful to you, okay? For so many reasons, which I'm not going to go into in this video because I will go on a tangent and it's not relevant right now. But compare the use of fats to that of carbohydrate. Very, very different in both the way that we perform with those macronutrients and the way we recover with those macronutrients and the way we digest those macronutrients. Irrelevant of what I've done the night before, irrelevant of what I've been doing the day before, I will always fuel my workout well. And that can even be simply a coffee with a small piece of fruit. You don't need bowls and bowls of carbohydrate. You just need enough to really get that process underway. Point number 6, make sure you plan out your week. When you're at home, you have a training program. You have a training program built on the muscle groups that you wish to train and prioritize, and then enough rest time between then and the next training session in order to facilitate recovery, and so you're not waddling around like John Wayne all week. If you decide, I haven't trained because I've been flying, I'm going to do a full body session, and then you end up completely fucking yourself up for the whole week, what good is that to you? Absolutely none. So what you need to decide first and foremost is, how many times am I going to train this week? If you are going away for 7 days and you're thinking, right, I'll do 4 days worth of training, you could just do a standard training program. You could do upper, lower, upper, lower. If you're training 3 days, you might just choose to do upper body all 3 days, or glutes all 3 days. I personally wouldn't care. Like if I were a girl and I was wearing a bikini and I'd worked really hard on my glutes, I'd probably be training them every day. That's the way it goes. I'd be training them, my hamstrings, every day. Wouldn't care. Maybe a bit of shoulders just to let them pop, you know. For the fellas, a guy I went to university with told me this once, called Alfie, and I won't take the credit for this because it was fantastic. He said, arms and chest, forget the rest. That's pretty much what I'd be doing. And that takes me on to point number 7. You have to have fun. If you do not have fun while on holiday with your training, it's not going to give you exactly what you need when you get back, and that's that real urge to dive back into the training program. You see, for some people, the best option, which is point number 8, is to just take the week off. It is psychologically really beneficial to miss something. It's nice to not have it, and the easiest way to not have something is either to be injured, which we don't want, or to do it in a different environment, because habits are far easier to break when we're not in the environment that we normally are in. Equally, habits are much easier to maintain in the environment we're normally in. Why am I telling you this? Because for some of you, the best option would be to deload the week that you're home, have the week off, let all the soft tissues recover, have a really good break, because some of you wouldn't have had a break in a long, long time. One additional thing I would say with regards to having fun is, you'll see when you go through the walkthrough that I used a bunch of machines I don't have in my gym. So whenever I go away and there's machines I don't have, I will go full guns for those machines, because it's so nice to trial and test new things out. So if you're away and there's new machines, don't think, oh, I need to stick to my program. Have some fun, enjoy yourself, push the boat out. Point number 8, I think we're on point number 8, if not 7.5 or 7. Think about training muscle groups, not movements. It's really easy to get caught up in the training plan you have, forgetting that the plan and its entirety is built around training muscle groups. The easiest thing to do with this is take your plan look at it and go, right, that trains chest and I'm pressing. That trains my glutes and I'm lifting up. That's a hip hinge. But let's say you do a leg press and they don't have a leg press on holiday. It's essentially a seated squat. We're sitting in a chair, squatting with the legs. So what options do I have? We could do back squats, we could do front squats, we could do Smith machine squats, we could do dumbbell squats, you name it. Shit, you could do lunges, because lunges are just single leg squats at the end of the day. If you look at your plan as a sequence of training muscle groups in certain actions, life becomes so much easier, because instead of seeing movements you can't do, you just see muscles that you can train. Game changer, let me reassure you. And that's exactly what I did when I was away. Point number 9, know your volumes. A lot of the time when we go away, if you've been sat down and you've not been doing much for 15 hours because you've been flying, it's very easy to go and train and not get any pump, feel really flat and just feel a bit crap. It's not an unexpected outcome that you'd feel like shite and perform like shite. However, once you've been there for a few days, what we need to look at each session is the amount of volume that we've got per session, if we're not looking at it in the context of an entire week, which is how you should be programming the volume and in context of the entire week. My advice here is this: if you do 6 sets per muscle group per training session, you should be absolutely fine. So you could do 6 sets of glutes, 6 sets of hamstrings, 6 sets of quads, 6 sets, don't do them all in the same session, but I'm saying as a rule of thumb, that's a pretty good thing to keep to, because it's in between the 5 to 7 sets that we would tend to recommend. If you want to train your glutes, you don't need to do more sets, you just need to train what you're doing a little bit harder or add in a little bit more novelty. So you could do 3 exercises of 2 sets. Bit more novelty because you've got a different action. And if you're doing things like RDLs where it's kind of a half set exercise rather than a complete, you might say, right, I'll do 3 sets of RDLs, I'll do 2 sets of hip thrusts, 3 sets of kickbacks. Beautiful. If you're a guy listening to this and you think, right, well, what would I do then? I'd say, well, you could do dumbbell bench press for 3 sets, you could do pec flies for 2 sets, and then you could do 2 or 3 sets of push-ups with 30-second break at the end of the flies, just to really, really finish off the chest. Which brings into perspective my final point. Add some intensifiers. If you add intensifiers to your training, what you'll have is 3 sets of lateral raises, final set, drop set. 3 sets of leg press, rest, pause. So you press, 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 rest for 5 seconds, press, 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 rest. So you're adding these intensifiers, which will add volume, but they'll also add pump, and they save you a lot of time. So if you can only train in kind of 30 to 40 minutes when you normally train between an hour and 15, it's a really effective way to get more volume into your session, get bigger pumps, get a bit more gnarly with the session, a bit hot, a bit sweaty, and it's a really nice way to get more out of less. It's not something you do all the time, but it's a fantastic way to train. Finally, and this isn't one of my 10 points, but it is just something I thought of and actually is a great point. You can either be prioritized or demoralized. If we do not prioritize things, whether that's the time, the exercises, the muscle groups, the thought processes around training, you will be demoralized, because you'll go there with this wonderful idea of how training is going to look for the week and how you're going to feel, all for it to come crashing down because you didn't prioritize well enough. You were really, really sore for 3 days. You couldn't train properly. You couldn't do the activities you wanted to do. And it's just all a bit wank. So the important part here is to understand the holiday in its entirety, what you're going for, why you're going, and to get the very most out of that, you need to understand what your priorities are. Because if you don't, it's going to be a really, really difficult thing to do.